make it in the future. Hello, it's Player 8, and today I'm going to tell you how I make my thumbnails. So first of all, I go into Gotcha Club. Once I open it, I pick out my character that I want to use. I need to do some changes to my character, so that's what is being shown right here. Then I change the background color to a dark gray, which will be shown in a second. Also, get whatever pose or items or anything you want on your character in your thumbnail, or characters. You can also have more than one. If you're using multiple, do this step with each separate character. It makes it a lot easier when we get to the future steps. Once you have your background color, take a screenshot, then go into the next app. So you could either do this step in Ipsy Paint, or you can do this in background eraser app, which is what I'm going to be using. So what you want to do is you want to go into your background eraser, load your photo, then erase your gray background. I feel like this app works a lot better than using Ipsy Paint. I used to use Ipsy Paint, but Ipsy Paint doesn't get as much of the background as background eraser does. Make sure you get your cursor offset to be exactly onto the cursor instead of being offset. It makes it a lot easier when you're trying to erase backgrounds. You can use this for anything, whether it be thumbnail or just in video stuff. Now we're finally going to go into Ipsy Paint. Once you go into Ipsy Paint, open a new thing and do it 12,080 by 720. That is a good size for a thumbnail. Then go into your recent photos and pick out the screenshot or edited photo that we just got. Make sure that it's on the page and not cut off at all, because we don't want it to be cut off when you're trying to move it around. Pick any color that you want for this thumbnail. Sorry for my words. I'm using yellow. What I like to do is I like to use different shades of the same color. So this whole thumbnail is going to be me using yellow, but you can use whatever color you want to. It doesn't have to just be yellow, as you've seen from my thumbnails. Though, I usually don't use hot colors. I usually have been saying towards cool colors just because I like cool colors more. It's just a preference thing. Then you go in frame and you get a different shade of that same color. I think it just looks nicer when it's all the same color, but you could experiment with different color combinations. It's your choice for your thumbnail. Now, I'm going to be editing the frame, so I got this. It's a nice thing that I like, and I just kind of throw that on top of it to make it look a little bit nicer. It's going to be shown here. So that's just kind of like little tiny dots. That's what the effect is. And it just brings more shape. I don't know. I just think it looks a little bit nicer. Then here I was just trying to mess around with placement, but it won't matter in a second, as will be shown, because I find it easier to edit the character before you move it around. So make sure you're using the clipping thing when you're doing these kind of steps. So what I like to do is, in my videos you may have seen that I changed the text colors. So I like to color the character in with a close color to the text color that I use with that character. So that's what the ad looks like before you change the opacity of the color. And I like to do the ad, and then I do another section, and I get in all those shadows. Right here I just removed the ad so you could see it better. So I just go over the character in several places with my flat to bring in some shadows. Also, don't be afraid to experiment with different kind of brushes. You don't only have to do the steps that I'm doing, you can also add like chain effects or like any kind of other effects that are in there, like the cloud type shape or the laces, lines, anything. You can do whatever kind of effects you want. Now right here, I'm just blending in the black to make it look a little bit better and not as dark. I just go over the darker parts as many times as I need to in order to make it look more shadowy, I guess. It's a little hard to explain. The piece of the hair is always the hardest because it's a lot of part that is shaded in, so it takes a while to go over that area. So you can see that I'm just going back and forth with my finger. Now, with the other layer on top, now you can see what it looks like. Now I just like to get all the layers layered on top, so then I can see what kind of shapes I have, or characters, anything. It also makes it a lot easier when you have multiple characters, as you have probably seen in my thumbnails. And this is why I only do separate characters, as I talked about earlier, so then it's a lot easier to move the characters around separately and get that nice shading and everything else that I just showed previously. Now I am adding a text layer, and I just kind of put the text in there, then I change the color of the font, the color of the text, to be the same color as everything else, so it's going to be different shades of yellow. I like using the outline because I think it gives more color to the thumbnail. I recommend using darker colors because this is really hard with yellow. I was really struggling trying to make sure the different elements of the thumbnail stood out against the other parts. So I would recommend using cool colors, and red. Just stay away from yellow. It's probably, you can use like pretty much any color except like yellow, because yellow is really difficult. But as I said before, you can do whatever you want. I'm not saying that you can't use yellow, as you can see you can. It's just, it was really challenging. So right here I'm adding a little bit of more sections. What I like to do is if I don't like a part and I want to try experiment with other elements, I just make it so I cannot see that layer. So then if I decide that I don't like the layer that I just made, I can go on and look back at the one that I had made. And don't be afraid to undo a step. Instead of just deleting it, just undo it. It's a lot faster. Right here I was trying to figure out how to make the text stand out more, and none of the things that I was doing were working. But make sure you do experiment with these things, because you can find a style of doing thumbnails that you really like. What I like to do a lot of times is I just try different effects overlaying on my normal base elements, like my background, my text, my frame, and my character, or characters. And again, make sure you separate every individual character into a different screenshot, because it makes it a lot easier when you're doing these steps that I was showing previously with the overlaying, the shadows, and the add effect of the color. You can also do whatever colors you want added on them. Like, in my experience, green doesn't really turn out that well, so I would try to stay away from green, and if you do use green, use a dark green. The lighter the color is, the harder it is to make it so when you can see the color, the character. Because the add makes it super bright, so lighter colors get lost in the effect. One of the best effects that I like to use is screen, but I use it as another overlay on top of everything, which is going to be shown in a second. So I choose another color. I usually like to keep it in the same color or close to the same color. So I was going to go for a red, but then I thought against it and figured that I would go back to a yellow. You can see I color it all in, and then I click screen, and I like to change the opacity. Sorry if I'm pronouncing things wrong. I cannot speak. Of the layers, so then they don't overwhelm the other elements. And don't be afraid to move the different layers around to make it how you want it. Now I just changed it as a PNG, and then you're all done. I hope this was helpful, and goodbye! Thank you guys for almost 50 subscribers, or maybe 50 subscribers when this video comes out.